I think parabens is definitely one of them. It's estrogenically active. It's a known hormone disruptor. In my opinion, SLS is less of a concern. Okay, it can be highly allergenic and it can cause a rash. However, in the way that hormone disrupting chemicals can affect future generations, SLS won't. It will only affect the victim at the moment, as it were. There are other chemicals like parabens that are other hormone disruptors, like the synthetic musks or the synthetic fragrances, over which I have some concern. And then there are other ones like triclosan. Now, triclosan is an antibacterial that is put into soap. So I don't know whether that's technically in your area of interest, but most of the liquid soaps and liquid cleaners that you get for washing your hands tend to have triclosan in them.
And what's the problem with triclosan?
Triclosan is structurally very similar to dioxin. And dioxin is the most toxic substance known to man. Now, no one deliberately makes dioxin. It's a byproduct of, for example, burning polyvinyl chloride. However, triclosan, in having a very similar structure to dioxin, there is now an ever-growing body of research that says it breaks down in water treatment works when it's been flushed down your sink and in sunlight into these very possibly toxic dioxins. And so triclosan per se might not be too bad for you, but the breakdown products might be. As you say, paraben, I would certainly look at the label for. Triclosan is another one. And as I say, these polycyclic musks, these synthetic musks, are quite often termed collectively as parfum on the label. And that is another one to kind of look at and hopefully avoid.
Right, okay. And are there any brands that seem to be like the main culprits, any that I should be looking at in particular in my research, or is it, all moisturisers, all shampoos?
I'd say they're fairly generic. I think if they don't have these chemicals in them, they tend to scream and shout about them because they feel it's going to give them a bit of marketing advantage. So if they don't say anything, the chances are they will have these chemicals in them. There isn't the legal obligation to do a full constituent list in the products that you buy.
Wow, so consumers actually, there's no way for them to tell what's really in there?
No, because then, say, if you were determined, you'd write to the company and you say, what's in your list of products in your shampoo, for example, and they'll write back, I would think, and they'll say, oh, madam, that's commercially confidential. I'm sorry, I can't tell you that. I think where we have seen certain chemicals at the critical window of development of male reproductive health of a male fetus in utero, one hit could be bad for that boy's future sexual development, from development of his penis and testicles to his sperm count to his later propensity to develop testicular cancer. However, I think for you as an adult female putting these things on, I would say it's the chronic, ongoing, cumulative exposure to numerous chemicals that we have very large concern about, because we now know that, and there's research done here in London by an eminent professor who's looking at those mixtures. And what he's done is he looked at individual chemicals that on their own have no effect. But when he adds them together, they have greater than the sum of the effect together. And you and I are exposed to, is it 10, is it 100, is it 1,000 chemicals a day? We don't know, but we know that they act together. We've tested girls who are quite young, maybe late teenagers or early 20s, girls who use an enormous volume of products. They might be in a highly kind of cosmetic industry. And then we've stopped them using their products for 2 or 3 weeks, and then we've tested them again, tested their blood, and the chemicals have gone down enormously, and they have said, oh, I feel much better, I've got much more energy, and I feel much more dynamic, and I don't feel so tired. And obviously all we've done is cut out their beauty products, of which they did wear an enormous number, but could one say, well, maybe cutting out all those chemicals, it's actually made them, their physiology work a bit better? Who knows? But that's what I saw.
And what do you think about Holland and Barrett's decision last year? They decided that they were going to ban all products containing parabens and SLS in their stores, and I think they're promoting their own brand label without these ingredients. Do you think that was a good move for them?
Yes, of course it is. I think the more chemicals that as a consumer, one doesn't buy inadvertently by buying products that one assumes have been tested, one assumes are safe. It has to be a good move. But as I say, it's a bit like saying, oh, well, we'll take nasty chemicals out of babies' bottles, or we'll take nasty chemicals out of food. I think doing it each by little bit makes a difference, but I think what you need is good regulation such that these nasty chemicals don't get in there in the first place. But yeah, where retailers are moving in what I perceive is the right direction, I think it has to be a good idea.
Of course.